New comic book day is coming up again, so it's time to take a look at the books on my pull list. Welcome back to Comics Are Dope. I'm BJ Kicks, and this is the Pull List. It's the weekly series where I take a look at the books coming out in the upcoming week. This time is New Comic Book Day, July 19th, 2023. Almost at 2022. And I'll tell you which books I'm pulling, what's on the chopping block, and what's on the maybe list I'll be making a game day decision on. Stick around to the end. There'll even be some bonus picks that you want to be on the lookout for. So I like to get this thing started with the book that I am most excited about. And this week, it was a tough choice, but I'm going with Black Panther #2 from Marvel Comics, written by Eve Ewing, art by Chris Allen, I believe is his name. Black Panther issue 1 was really dope. Now, I know we're all kind of washing the taste of the John Ridley run out of our mouths. And hey, that had its ups and downs and further downs. And Eve Ewing is basically picking up where that left off. And I said I felt like if anybody could reconstruct the character of T'Challa, it'd be Dr. Eve Ewing, just based on other works I've read of hers. And I gotta say, after one issue, I'm not disappointed. We've gotten T'Challa in the hidden city of Burning T'Chaka. We're seeing how life is there. We're understanding how T'Challa feels about himself, the sort of confidence that he's regained since rejoining the Avengers. And we understand better his motivations and why he feels the need to still protect Wakanda, even though he's technically an enemy of the state right now, and he's not even supposed to be in the country. So it's been really cool seeing that aspect of it. We got introduced to new characters, a new potential ally for T'Challa, as well as a new villainess. Do we need female modifiers for the word villain? Anyway, we got introduced to this new villain at the end of issue 1, and my expectation based on this brilliant cover by Torrin Clark is that we're going to see this new villain meet up with T'Challa in this issue. So we're going to get that first confrontation. We're going to get the tone established for their relationship. I think there's been a lot of comparison to basically she's going to be like the Catwoman to T'Challa's Batman, if that's the analogy we're going for. All in all, looks interesting. Like I said, issue 1 was promising. What I just enjoy about it is it definitely feels fresh. It feels quick paced and action packed. And it feels like T'Challa knows who he is and isn't just, being all self-deprecating and self-loathing and self-hating. Hey, it's a good start. I know some people are like, look, can we just make him king again, like ASAP? And it's probably going to take us a few issues to get there, but I'm excited about the direction we're going in. Black Panther issue 2's got a cover price of $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And since we're talking about Marvel Comics, we'll start off with the rest of them on the list. But first, one of the Marvel Comics on my list this week is actually a maybe list candidate. I haven't fully decided if I'm going to buy this one, but out this week is Blade issue #1, written by Brian Edward Hill with art by Elena Casagrande. Now, I've never picked up a Blade comic. I only vaguely remember the Blade movie from back in the day, and even that was only the first one. I never saw Blade 2 or Blade, whatever the name of the third one was. Trinity? That sounds like a name for a third movie, right? So anyway, my point is I'm not crazy familiar with the character of Blade. I know there was the Bloodline series that came out earlier this year, and a lot of people were upset that there wasn't an actual Blade series at the same time. The only reason this is on the maybe list that my interest is kind of piqued is because it's written by Brian Edward Hill. And my guy Skip was a huge fan of Brian Edward Hill. He even sent me like videos of Brian Edward Hill talking about writing process. I've read a little bit of B. Hill's Batman and the Outsiders run, and I did enjoy it. So I'm curious only because I know it's a quality writer on the series, but I'm not particularly invested in Blade as a character. And with a cover price of $4.99, I'm just like, I could take this or leave this, but I might grab it. If I do, I'm just going to grab the cover A. And the next book on the Marvel Comics pull list is X-Men Red issue 13. Listen, we are speeding toward the fall of X, and I am getting further and further behind with each passing week. At this point, I'm just gonna have to take a day and read nothing but X-Men to get caught up and see if I can get excited about this last chapter. They're doing everything they can from a marketing aspect to make it seem exciting. But honestly, I feel like I'm just X-Men fatigued right now. But I want to see this through to the end because, hey, for all the 4 years I've been reading comics, the Krakoa whole project, the Krakoa project, that's what we'll call it, has been what's been leading my reading habits. So we'll see how it all ends soon enough. Till then, though, X-Men Red issue 13 has a cover price of $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And that's it for the Marvel books on the pull list. So if I don't grab Blade, my Marvel total's only $8. And even if I do grab Blade, it's only $13. So not a bad week either way from Marvel. Now, let's move on over to DC Comics, the distinguished competition, and talk about the books on my list there. Now, the first book should be a chopping block contender, but it probably won't be for another 2 issues. But that is Batman, Superman, World's Finest, issue number 17. This is the book that I honestly keep picking up every month because I love the art. Every time I read it, it's not bad. It's really good, actually. It's some of the best writing going on in comics. It just, to me, feels inconsequential. And so it's that weird, gift and curse, right? You complain that comics are too interconnected. You got to read too many titles to understand what's going on in the universe. But then when you read something like this and it feels disconnected, it just feels like, I could have read this anytime. I didn't need to pick it up in single issues when my pull list is already bloated. So I have that battle all the time. And then I look at Dan Mora's art and it's like, hey, it was worth the $4. And that's how I feel this time around. But I'm thinking I'm going to cut it off after issue 18, get 3 solid story arcs in, and then let's just move this to the DC Infinite app. But Batman, Superman, World's Finest, issue 17, it's got a cover price of $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. Now, the next book on the DC pull list is actually another maybe list contender. And if I'm honest, this is more on the probably not list. But I did want to shout it out. Hawk Girl #1 is out this week from DC Comics, part of the Dawn of DC. It's going to be a 6-issue miniseries. And while I love this cover, I'm not familiar with this creative team at all. And for that reason, I'm just like, I don't know if I really need to pull this in single issues. This could probably wait a month for it to hit the DC Universe Infinite app. I've never read a Hawk Girl book or a Hawkman book for that matter, but I loved Hawk Girl on the Justice League Unlimited animated series. And that's really the only thing that I'd have going into this book. It's written by Jadazia something, or it's a name I've literally never heard. And so for that reason, I'm just kind of like, the Dawn of DC has been spectacular though. And that's the only reason I'm like, okay, maybe this will be good too. They haven't missed at all so far. So we'll see, but it's probably not. It's got a cover price of $3.99. If I grab it, I'll just grab cover A. But let's move on to the next book, or the last book on the DC Comics pull list, which honestly, it's probably the book I'm reading first this week, even though I gave that top spot to Black Panther. This is Static, Shadows of Dakota, issue number 5. Static, written and drawn by Nick Draper-Ivey with some assistance by Vita Ayala. Don't ask me to what extent that assistance goes far. So there we go. But anyway, Shadows of Dakota issue 4 ended with quite the tearjerker of a moment, and issue 5 is going to deal with the aftermath. Issue 5, in my opinion, is shaping up to be the climax of the series. It just makes sense. If you know anything about Static, Virgil, the crux of his character is always deciding whether or not to do good or to slip into the dark side. And so I think he's going to be facing, he's going to have to make that decision this issue. And I guess we could probably guess what decision he's going to make, but I'm excited to see how it shapes up and what that means for the final 2 issues of the series. That's right. This series has been extended from 6 issues to 7. So we got a little bit more time to allow the plot to resolve itself. There are a lot of questions about this whole like mystery organization that is kidnapping bang babies. We don't really know a lot about them at all. And so we got to figure out what Static's going to do while also watching what Ebon does as well. If you remember that confrontation from issue 4, it gave all the feels, and Ebon was very clear. Stay out of my way. You don't want it with me. I will go through you if I have to. So I'm very much excited to see how that goes. But first, we got to deal with the fallout from the events of issue 4. And the only reason this didn't make the top of my recommendation list is because it's in issue 5 of 7. And if you haven't been reading the series, chances are there aren't enough back issues at your shop to get you caught up. No worries, though. If you subscribe to DC Universe Infinite, then you can read issues 1 through 4 and pick up issue 5 tomorrow when it comes out. So that's definitely at the top of my reading pile this week with a cover price of $3.99. I'm grabbing the Nick Draper Ivy cover A. And that's it for the DC books on the pull list. So if I don't buy Hawk Girl, and I'm probably not buying Hawk Girl, my DC books will cost me just $8 this week also. Now, let's skip on over to the indies, where the first book on the list from Dynamite Entertainment is Darkwing Duck, issue number 7. Look, Darkwing can do no wrong. Man, I've just been loving it. The series by Amanda Dibert with art by Carlo Lauro. Every issue has been a banger, a blast from the past. It hits me in all the nostalgia feels, but it also rings true to the tone of the TV show and the voices of the characters. So it's just a fun read. It feels like watching episodes of Darkwing Duck. And I guess that's really the best case scenario you could hope for from reading a book like this. So I'm excited that we have that option. Now, in this issue, we are seeing the return of the Justice Ducks. I guess we could call that like Darkwing's Justice League. And this is particularly sentimental for me because growing up, I didn't have cable. Almost all of my experience with Darkwing Duck was one episode that my mom actually bought me on VHS entitled Just Us Justice Ducks, which is a mouthful. And it's either a 2 or a 3-part episode or 3-episode story arc, whatever. And basically they made it into like a little TV movie. And it was great. It's great. So you see Darkwing assembling the Justice Ducks to fight against Negaduck and, gosh, I can't remember what they called their whole like Sinister Six, if you will. So it was just dope. I love that team up. The episode, if you've ever seen it, maybe you'll remember, we know the switch. I don't know. Maybe that's just stuck in my head from all those years rewatching the VHS. Anyway, because Justice Ducks are coming back, I'm excited about this issue. Now, the cover A is cool and all. It's cool. Hey, Morgana, you're great, right? But you can't have an issue about the Justice Ducks and not grab the Justice Ducks cover. So the cover I am most excited about is the cover D by Trish Forstner of Stray Dogs fame. And because it's got all of the Justice Ducks, right? Even though old girl is not a duck and the dinosaur dude used to be. It's just great. Just great. Anyway, I've been gushing about Darkwing too long. Cover price on this is $3.99. I'm grabbing cover D. And next up is the first chopping block contender this week. And the time has finally come. It is finally time for me to stop buying Gunslinger Spawn. I have been buying it for 21 consecutive months because it's only $2.99. It's got cardstock covers. Every issue is fun enough. It's just a fun read to kind of decompress and de-stress. Because my reading pile is so big, it's not serving that same purpose anymore. It's just another book added to the long list of books that I'm behind on. And so, you know, if I was reading a ton of X-Men every week or whatever, it'd be nice to have Gunslinger Spawn as like a sort of palate cleanser type book. But I just don't have the time to read as much as I have been pulling as of late. And so when it's time to make concessions, Gunslinger Spawn, you gotta go. So Gunslinger Spawn's on the chopping block, and by not buying that book, I'm going to save $2.99 this week. Not a ton of savings, but hey, every penny counts, right? And the last book on my pull list this week is The Walking Dead Deluxe issue 67. I'm trying to decide now if if The Walking Dead Deluxe is going to get the chopping block treatment as well. I've been wanting to do this custom bind project. It's looking like that project is going to be cost prohibitive. And so now the question is, well, do you continue buying all these single issues and just have a Walking Dead short box somewhere a year from now, 2 years from now, however long it's taken for me to get 66 issues of The Walking Dead Deluxe? Or, do you just cut your losses and just go buy the black and white trade paperbacks and call it a day? I don't know. I don't have the answer to this question yet. And that's why this book's still on the pull list. But hey, as long as it is, you already know the vibes. And I love the David Finch cover A's. So $3.99 on that one this week. And that's the end of my indie pull list and my pull list in general. So because I cut Gunslinger Spawn, I'm only spending $8 on indie books this week as well. So my grand total is just $24. If I do grab the 2 books on the maybe list, that brings it up to $33 this week. That's before taxes and my 10% subscriber discount. A $30 week is not bad. Most likely, I'm leaving Hawk Girl on the shelf and buying Blade. So we'll call it $29. And hey, that's cool with me. But I'm trying to be mindful, even though I'm skipping most of the DC Comics titles this summer. I can't just add a bunch of stuff to the pull list, because when the Dawn of DC books come back, they'll be on my pull list every month, and every week there will be a title up there. So trying to stay conservative throughout the summer and just get caught up on the reading pile. What are you guys excited to grab this week? By the way, almost forgot the bonus picks. So be on the lookout just in case you're interested. There's a bunch of new number ones this week, starting with Mark Millar and Pepe Larraz's Big Game, issue number 1. They've been teasing it like all summer, and every issue of The Ambassadors had a big ad for it in the back. The reason I'm not grabbing it is because it's apparently like just bringing a bunch of Miller World or Millerverse titles together for like a big crossover type thing. I've never read a Mark Miller comic, not any of his indie stuff. So no need for me to grab that. But if you're a Mark Miller fan, then that's something to be excited about. That's out this week for, I think, $4.99. Next up, Moon Knight, City of the Dead, issue number 1. Now, I know we're coming up on like the death of Moon Knight or the end of the Moon Knight run by Jed McKay. And I don't know where this series ties into that, but it's a mini series by David Pepose. People loved him on Savage Avengers just recently. And I believe he also wrote the Incredible Hulk annual. So if you like David Pepose and you've been kind of double Dutch waiting to jump into Moon Knight, then this might be the one to grab. City of the Dead issue 1 is out this week. And it's got a cover price, I believe, of $3.99. And the last book I'll shout out is Scrapper, issue number 1 from Image Comics. Now, I actually got an email asking me to review it, but they didn't attach the comic, so I can't tell you if it's good or not. Maybe we'll do a separate video a little bit later on this week if they get back to me. But basically, it's a story about a dog fighting crime in a post-apocalyptic world. It's like All Dogs Go to Heaven, but Mad Max 2, apparently. I don't know. Honestly, sounds like something to be right up my alley, but I got so many other books on the list. I don't need to add another title to the pull. So we'll see how it goes. If I do get that review copy, I will let you guys know how I enjoyed it. But if you've got a lighter pull list, then maybe consider adding that to your list for this week. And I think that one's going to have a cover price of $3.99. It's written by Alex DeCampi, Cliff Baczynski, and art by Sandy Jarrell. And that's it for the shout out books this week. Books that I'm not grabbing, but maybe you want to. And let me know what you're most excited about in the comments down below. Huge thanks to the channel family for making my pull list possible. And every video on the channel is made possible by them. So if you'd like to support the channel in the same way, consider clicking the join button down below. I'll see you guys in another video real soon. Until then, I don't know what you're picking up this week or what you're reading, but hopefully it's something dope. Peace.